Welcome into Minnesota Vikings Now. I am Tom Downey here once again with a loss for Minnesota. They fall in overtime again, 34-31, this time at the hands of the Baltimore Ravens. Yet another just painful, disappointing loss for Minnesota. They had a chance to win this game, guys. They were up by 14 points at the end of the second quarter. Or early in the third quarter, 24-10, right? They let the Ravens score 21 unanswered. Then they go score to tie the game back up. They get an interception in overtime. Now, they got the ball at their own 38-yard line. First play, Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, 2 yards. Next play, Dalvin Cook, -1. Incomplete, Adam Thielen. They punt, and the Ravens go 72 yards and score almost as time expires to avoid a tie. Minnesota, with the loss, drops to a disappointing 3-5. So what is your one-word reaction to this game for the Vikings? Several different routes you could really go. Disappointing, which is actually my one word, by the way. Typical, frustrating, sad, painful. Lots of routes. Get your votes in for me in the comments. For me, it is, as I mentioned, disappointing. The Vikings really have let several games get away from them this year. They are this close to being 5-3 and right in there in the midst of the NFC playoff race. Now they're 5-3, outside looking in, instead of being, they're 3-5. My bad. They are 3 wins, 5 losses, but they could easily be 5-3 or have 6 wins or even just be 500. Instead, you followed up a bad showing by losing to Cooper Rush on prime time. But let's say what it was. Blowing it against the Baltimore Ravens. 2 straight losses now for Minnesota. Offensively, yes, they scored 31 total points. Now you got 3 off a very easy interception by Lamar Jackson. Simple chip shot field goal there. A nice kick return touchdown by Nwagu. I mispronounced that. I'm sorry. The young rookie back. He had a nice kick return for touchdown. 318 yards. You didn't actually move the football that consistently, and it's a big reason why you lost this one. Kirk Cousins, look, I know that the touchdown numbers too look cool. The QBR was fine. Did he play that well? Did he really? Because I don't think so. I thought this is another game in which Kirk Cousins didn't have his best stuff. And that is a problem for this team. That's against the Ravens, of course. That's my typo. 17 of 28, 187, 2 touchdowns overall for Kirk Cousins. Not the best showing. He's got to be better. He didn't make enough plays down the stretch when it mattered. Was he always in the best of position? No, it was not. But the Vikings lose yet another painful, frustrating game. So overall, and it's not an A, but I'm curious what you guys have to say, grade the Vikings in their loss against the Ravens. Throw down an A. B's a bit tough for me to give as well. C, D, or F. Let me know. How are you grading Minnesota in this game? This is the pinned comment on today's video. So that ad break comes here on YouTube. Head down to the comments and let me know. Spend some more time now on this Vikings offense, the good, I guess. Dalvin Cook, 17 carries, 110 yards, 6.5 yards per carry. I think you could wonder why he didn't get the ball more. Now, part of this was a 66-yard run. Ends up making his numbers look a whole lot better. I don't think it's fair to play that game, even though it was only 2.75 without that big-time run. But the overall numbers look good for Cook. The consistency, not so great. Minnesota wants to run the football. I won't say they were great at that in this game. Justin Jefferson, next up here, 3 catches, 69 yards, 1 touchdown. Had the most yards, 1 of 2 scores for Minnesota as well. What gives me concern, though, about this Vikings offense is the Ravens secondary's okay. Amar Humphries is a good football player. Adam Thielen, 7 targets, 2 catches, 6 yards, and 1 touchdown. 2 catches for 6? You're Adam Thielen. You got to get in the ball. You got to be able to make that offense work if Cook's been a bit bottled up. So the offensive points overall look great, but the yards, the actual consistency from the players, not so much. Now we're going to keep you guys covered everything going on around Minnesota, which might include a coaching change in the somewhat near future. Free videos every single day for the Minnesota Vikings. News, rumors, recaps, everything you could possibly want here. And it's all free. So if you haven't already, head down and make sure that big red button is turned gray by subscribing to Minnesota Vikings Now. Let's talk defense now for the Vikings. It's not great. In general, you allow 34 points, you typically end up losing ball games. Well, if you score 31, you should win, and that was not the case today for Minnesota. 500 total yards, 2 takeaways, nearly changed it in the right direction for the Vikings. But a big reason, not the reason, but a big reason why they lost, 247 on the ground. Minnesota, after really rallying against the second half against the Cowboys last week, could not stop the run this time around, especially Lamar Jackson. He carried the ball 21 times. He had 120 yards by himself, more than Dalvin Cook did. Devonta Freeman had 79 on 13 carries, and none of those runs went for over 20 yards. What that tells you, folks, is that the Vikings' run defense was getting worked. They were getting consistently gashed, and I do believe it was a big reason why Minnesota came up short in this one. Some quick injury notes here. Short on Bashaud Breeland. Injured his groin in the second quarter. Did come back, though. That's a goodish sign for Minnesota. You guys know how I feel about Bashaud Breeland. I don't love him, but he is better than Kris Boyd is in the end. Now, Harrison Smith out in this one due to some COVID stuff there. How about Cameron Bynum, though, at a Cal? He was damn impressive in this game. He stepped up for the Vikings. 11 tackles, 1 interception, 1 pass breakup. Is he Harrison Smith? Good Lord, no. But 11 tackles? That's pretty great. Also, how about Eric Kendricks? 17. On the downside of tackle numbers was Cameron Dantzler with 10. And if your corner, your outside corner, arguably CB1, ends up with double digits, that's usually a really bad thing. That's normally a bad sign for a team. So Harrison Smith, of course, I do believe is going to miss next week's game, placed on the COVID list. The timing of everything here, I believe Harrison Smith is unvaccinated, which means assuming they test positive, has to miss 10 days. He would miss next Sunday's game as well against the Chargers. So that would probably mean more Cameron Bynum reps, which is a good thing, long term, but you still want Harrison Smith out there in the end. So not an ideal situation here for the Minnesota Vikings with Harrison Smith set to miss some time as well. Hopefully some guys get healthy and get back on the field in the near future in that second. We're looking at you, Patrick Peterson. So who was your MVP this week against the Baltimore Ravens? And I'll make this note while your votes come in here before they come in. None is an okay answer. So get your MVP votes for me in the comments section. All right, like I mentioned, none, it's fine. You lost. If I had to pick one, Kendricks or Bynum maybe, because Bynum was a nice little surprise game. Richardson had a good game. Sheldon, 1.5 sacks, 2 TFLs. But none is a good answer. And this is why in the end. Because Minnesota continues to find creative ways to lose football games. Games that arguably they should not be losing. This team, guys, is 1-2 in overtime this year and 2-5 in one-score games. You fumble the game away with Dalvin Cook against the Bengals, you lose in overtime, right? You miss a chip shot field goal to lose by 1 against Arizona. A 7-point loss against the Browns in which your offense was the entire time. You lose by 4 against the backup quarterback in Cooper Rush, a game you should have blown them out, but you didn't move the ball at all offensively. You score 31 against the Ravens, but you don't move the ball that well. You allow a 21 unanswered run by Baltimore to cost you the game. You get an INT in overtime and gain 1 yard on your next possession. Creative ways to lose games is not what you need. And now Minnesota, with that 34-31 loss, they fall to 3-5 on the season, and the question marks around the future of Mike Zimmer, I think, continue to grow for the Vikings.